Hello, Jerry. How are you?
I'm well, Russell. How are you?
How are you? Good. And we'll probably keep it short today. I don't expect many people to be here because we did not promote this webinar.
That's all right. I'll take all the info for myself.
That's okay.
Yep.
Now we might have some people come in. We'll keep this very informal. Hello,
Awesome.
Annie. How are you doing? Okay. Looks like Annie has showed up. And as you can see, I am not Kaylin, but I'm using my wife's account because she is very busy. She's off. We're going to keep this super informal today, guys. We did not promote this webinar because my wife is out of town and we've had a lot of webinars this week. So it does appear that people are showing up, however, despite my lack of marketing efforts.
Hey,
Excellent.
I was getting good stuff out of it.
How is your back doing? Hey, Adrian.
My back pain's doing a lot better. I got a steroid pack yesterday, which seemed to start helping. Get an appointment to see a actual pain doctor. Yesterday was general practitioner to get a referral. You know how the system works.
Mm-hmm.
I need a referral to the pain doctor to get the MRI, but I'm better today. I am amazingly better today. Yesterday was a horrible day of just constant pain. I was 8 weeks yesterday of that mess. So I'm happy. There's improvement. I'm alive and well and on top of the dirt. I was encouraged by the post last night.
Glad to hear that you're feeling better.
Oh
And
yeah.
we're going to go ahead and start this meeting. Guess we're already recording. All right, you guys, we're going to use this very informal. We did not promote this webinar for a variety of different reasons, not the least of which is my team being out of town. So today I want to use this for questions and answers. We'll try to keep this meeting under half an hour. And now's the time to use me for question. No question is too freaky. We are in an amazing time right now. I am drinking from a fire hose. I've got multiple data streams coming in from all over the world about what's happening on the planet. It's very hard to keep up with it, even if you're excellent. Hard to keep up with it, even if you're excellent at managing streams of information. And so that I'm in the non-political side of everything going on, but everything is invariably political at some level. So we're going to stick with AI primarily. If you have any questions about anything in our repertoire, including anything on the local side, the AI in general, AI politics and/or safety, let me know, and I'm happy to help. Today will be a Q&A day.
All right. Yeah, I mean, it's so cool to have you with just three people.
Yeah.
In terms of AI, have you tried building like custom agents with anything LLM?
I've worked on it a bit. So there's a couple of different challenges. Custom agents require that. Whoops. Why am I sharing that screen? Go ahead and admit that. I'm not a huge believer in custom agents unless they are trained on the totality of your business. So custom agents can end up being as dumb as the custom templates. And custom templates are a bit silly because anybody who's selling you custom templates doesn't understand the nuance of your business. So you've got to be able to build your own. The agent has to be very well trained on your data, and it has to be programmed. I do believe in custom orchestrators. Okay, so the people leading the charge on this I do want to explain the difference of that. Okay. So this is something that should be on your radar. Now, to speak to your yes, you can create custom agents. And what you can do is I would make sure that that custom agent is trained on whatever data set you want them to be trained on. And I haven't got far enough in anything LLM, but they're inside the community on anything. There is a bunch of people that I've worked with. They're all working. You can join their Discord. They are really good at building agents.
All right. Yeah, that's cool.
But, mhm.
Sorry. Go
An
ahead.
agent, there's a huge distinction between an agent orchestrator and an agent swarm. So here's a little bit about the challenges that we're facing right now in this industry. Okay, and I think I met with one of the developers. Wayfound is an example. This is an orchestrator.
We're not seeing your screen, Russell. We're just seeing your camera again.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
What screen are we looking at here?
We see your Wayfound.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yep.
So this is a company to watch. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at it from a larger perspective. Creating an individual agent, Adrian, for example, if you tell me what it is that you want your agent to do, there's a couple of different ways to think about it. So you've got the idea that an agent can perform certain things, right? If it's trained on your data, for example, let me give you one example would be, hey, AI can write your marketing copy, right? Is that really is just kind of a brain in a jar that's filtering out the information that you want in a form that is on brand, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so is that really an agent that does anything for you other than filter out what it's like an approved filter that can write like you would write and spit out that content. And I guess you can say it's an agent because that agent is trained on data that you want to that you provide. But it doesn't really do anything for you. As soon as the agent starts doing something, like once that content is done, we're going to put it over somewhere else. We're going to give it to the copywriters or we're going to put it on the desk of the CEO. In other words, once you start taking action, here's the organization Wayfound, then we're dealing with very complex scenarios where all these things start talking to each other, right? Okay, so you can look at Make AI. There's another company that makes all of these automations. I've been working with quite a few different people who are trying to do either these automations or they're doing templates. And the idea here is that all of these actions can then occur. So it's all connected with duct tape and strings, and hopefully nothing goes wrong. It's kind of like that game Mousetrap, right? Where one thing goes to one place and another thing goes to another place, and you just pray and hope that it doesn't break down, which, by the
Yeah.
way, it frequently does. So I want to tell you, like, this is not what the industry does not want you to hear this, but it's not really ready. Okay, for example, what's happening with all that stuff, honestly, is just kind of Zapier with a twist.
Yeah. 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 It's
Okay,
just like one level more advanced, but still the same kind of automation.
exactly, or something like IFT. These are right. These are just different ways of looking at the same thing. Okay, so what we have is we have this craziness where everybody is hopeful with work automation. Okay, another thing that I did is I met the founder of Swarm AI, and that's when I knew everybody was in big trouble when I went to the conference down here in Miami. And there's no way that anybody is going to be using Swarm with any kind of um, effectiveness. Because when I went down there and he had this talk about Swarm, it's just this great idea about, let me see if I can find him. It's just this great idea about, a whole bunch of agents doing a whole bunch of things for you. But the reality is that they're mostly just going crazy. What you have is a whole bunch of things stuck together with duct tape and string, and they're all trying to do the things. And you've got to test it, but it's basically like using Zapier, except one of the functions in Zapier is that it can write a really good article without you being there, which puts you back at the beginning of, hey, if you're using anything LLM, okay, you've trained it on your model, or you're using Gemini, and Gemini is filtering through your retrieval augmented search. Okay, it's just looking through all of your data, but you've trained it on the filter that you would like it to do to write for you. That's cool. Like, that's really good. Basically, it's healthier to look at language learning models as filters for you. When you look at them as agents, it gives you this hope that they're going to do something cool. And the reality is that they don't. Now,
Okay.
we're just on the frontier right now of the hopefulness. What is OpenAI? I'm paying $200 a month for OpenAI's professional version. and it just now started being able to surf the web, and it's just using Google Chrome, right? It's using Google Chrome, and I left you guys a video about how it surfs the web. And by the way, I'm not saying that we're not very close to really cool things going on. I'm just saying that OpenAI, let me see if I can open ChatGPT and OpenAI are basically struggling. The battle of ground is going to be fought on how much power you give a single company to take a whole bunch of actions for you. And how stupid is that action going to be? Like, for example, one of the additions to the pro version is it can basically give you tasks, right? ChatGPT can notify you if you set up a task. It'll remind you every day. How is that different for $200? Like, how is that different than all the other reminder or to-do systems that I have? It left me very wanting. Like, it wasn't useless to me. So what's going on really is you have a very, very intelligent professor. Okay, if you look at some of these more advanced models, there's professional and there's professional advanced at the $200 level. Is the way that I would view it, at least for the next few months until probably Q2 of this year, is really, really advanced. It's like having a PhD or somebody who's well versed and who passed the bar exam or passed the medical exam or passed whatever marketing exam you can give them, like a really, really educated person on staff, but that person can't remember what you talked to him about at lunch.
Okay.
I mean, this is the elephant in the room that the industry is not going to talk to you about. Like, so what we need is memory. However, whatever cool automations you guys have, we should figure them out because they're coming. Okay, so here's an example. We're going to see agent orchestrators, okay, rather than chat swarms. Okay, so Tatiana, who founded this company, she has, this is a woman-founded company, and it's absolutely brilliant because she's designing the orchestration for humans, not for robots. I don't know what it is. Is there something about men designing chat swarm systems where it seems like we're missing a bucket of common sense? Like, it's almost as if the same people that created Zapier, which is a program that can be very useful if you're trying to connect different dots. If you need a whole bunch of duct tape and strings to connect things together that are not able to connect very well, you can do that. It's the same with IFT. If you want to IFTT, if this, then that, right?
Yeah.
If this, then that is great for SEO still. Daryl and I still use it today for our more advanced systems because it's great for publishing RSS feeds. And it's great for using things like rss.app. Whoops, there's only one S in RSS. It's great for publishing things like through RSS feeds so that you can then thread all of those posts through the different platforms. In other words, if you believe in backlinks and you're an SEO, you can publish huge amounts of power through RSS feeds, right? And then that's an objective. You actually have an objective for the system, which is out here. In other words, everything you've published throughout your entire system of your own brand voice, your own brand entity, can then be gathered up and published, and then you can automate a lot of those things. So don't think that I'm not saying that creating agents for that, but we've had agents for a while in terms of publishing, right? You just publish, it's one piece of content, you break it down into chunks, and then you spit it out across the network, right? But if you want these things to do something intelligent, the agent's going to have to talk to other agents, and there's going to have to be a consensus, and they're going to have to know when they're on brand.
Yeah.
Okay, and if they're going to be on brand, you need at the higher level, we need to go where Tatiana is taking everybody. Okay, which is orchestrators.
Are
Okay.
those kind of like some sort of a manager for the agents?
Yes,
or oversight?
precisely. Yes.
Yeah.
In other words, and unfortunately, this is not a kind of thing that you can whip up right away on, for example, anything LLM, because what anything LLM is yeah, Tatiana is brilliant. Okay, you can find out about her. I'll go ahead and I'll drop this in so you guys know. So she founded this company, and I've attended many of her lectures, and she's got the right idea. Okay, so the main thing that you've got going on is you can give the agents all a constitution, And then there's another layer on top of the system that is oversight over their behavior. So there's policies. And if something's going away, they'll get a low score. And that low score will come up, and then you'll be able to be an actual, you can have godlike control over all of your agents instead of them going rogue and doing what AI little robots are doing, which is sometimes just completely betraying you entirely, or making up their own decisions, or deciding that you're too stupid to be followed and asking you why you want it that way, or not giving them enough information to really make a good decision. Those are the scenarios that happen when people try to create AI chatbots and then unleash them into the world. Okay, there's a lot of disasters happening right now with chatbots. Okay, so this is where it's going, and this is called agent orchestration. Okay, this is called, when we're dealing with this, we're dealing with agent orchestrator. ChatGPT and Claude can't really orchestrate anything. Okay, they can give you, you can build your own GPTs, but the GPTs are still just filters, right? Like the Eureka Gain score, right? Okay, these are filters. Now, these filters took a tremendous amount of work to build. Okay, huge amounts of sense-making technologies, huge amount of psychology and neuroscience required, and understanding of the models at a very deep level. So you can go a long ways with making really cool content filters. You can filter for certain content, right? But for them to do anything in the physical world and not lose control or do something useful, we're going to have agent orchestrators. Okay, so now anything LLM, you can build agents. So when you're looking at anything, just like any chatbot, the advantages here are not so much more that you have control over agents, although there's really cool things they're adding that you can do. The main thing here, the main advantage is it's on your desktop. You're able to do, here's some agent skills. You can add some agent skill sets to it, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm
Okay.
using the web search and the
Yeah.
browsing agent
Mhm.
to, and it will look up stuff online and kind of analyze those sources. Yeah.
Yeah, that's brilliant. In fact, I hope you share that with the community, how you're doing that. I'm using a whole bunch of different services, so that feel free to share that. So these are agent skills. What this means is this agent can, these are the things, for example, that are additional services that are not related to AI at all. And that's true for ChatGPT and Claude as well. So for example, if you go to the new advanced systems, okay, I think people are having a hard time understanding this, and I think it's a good thing to talk about. Like, for example, take the O3 Mini High, right? We go through O3 Mini. Looks like they have added search finally. So O5 is coming out, and they had to have a Department of Defense meeting on O5. It's just a little bit too powerful. It's moving towards artificial general intelligence in ways that I think they're trying to figure out how to handle that. But generally speaking, if you look at this search function right here, that's a function of the SAS, and these are what you call attributes. So you can make it, like, the model is not going to be less smart if you don't have these functions, right? Like search, or the ability to upload a diagram, right? Or be able to connect to Google Drive. So those are agent skill sets that you add, but they really have nothing to do with artificial intelligence. They're the constraints of the platform that you're using. So with anything LLM, there's people that are spending a lot of time writing these different apps and connectors so that the agent can access it. But you still have to inform or orchestrate the agents to be able to, none of that has to do with anything about being on brand, with the exception of retrieval augmented search from the content that you've stored, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so you can't really get enough of what you don't really need. we don't really need smarter models as much as we need orchestrators that are affordable for the average user. Okay, so some of the things to watch are over the next few months. Now, however, with all that being said, I'm trying to prepare you guys, and we're trying to prepare each other for getting skilled with. That's why I decided to do the desktop version of Tim's company of anything, because the next computer you guys will have AI NGUs, right? Neural networks. Like, you should never get another computer again that doesn't have a neural chip. Okay, so the next one you have coming out, you're going to be able to have these models entirely on your desktop, and like we've got Llama on this one.
Is that what
Okay.
NVIDIA did with that thing they announced a few weeks ago?
Yeah, I've got my AI computer on order.
Gotcha.
But it's all, they're just backed up. Okay. The limitations are the chips now at this point, guys. There's no real, the reason everybody's saying, oh, the end of SaaS, right? The end of, does everybody know like software as a service, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, what they mean is the end of this. And honestly, good riddance. I mean, we all have a lot of cloud-based thinking, so they're always gonna be useful.
Right.
But if I'm in Claude and I'm using this, I'm not gonna run out of tokens unless I forgot to pay my API bill. And so you guys have access to unlimited tokens as well, right? So it's never gonna say, hey, come back in 2 hours, we're too busy. But the reason it's too busy for them is the vector database that they're using. We have our own vector database. And so because we have our own vector database installed for all of you, or you guys have yours, that's the default. It's not a great vector database, but it's not a terrible one. So anything LLM comes with the database. So the reason that, I think I said this yesterday, but the reason that ChatGPT or Claude will tell you to come back in 3 hours, sorry about the inconvenience, is because they're trying to share one giant vector database with millions of users. I mean, I'm sure they have them. I can't imagine the difficulty they must be having of breaking down the databases into users. It must be a monumental task over at these companies.
Yeah.
But you've got your own, and that's the way that I like it. Like have your own vector function and your own memory in there. So believe me, Adrian, I really wanted to start teaching people agent connections, and Kaylin and I thought about it. And when we saw how clunky it is and how undependable, and how if I had a chain of 5 agents that were all supposed to interact, that will make me feel about as good as Zapier when I have to glue like 3 different layers together. Like I'm fine with Zapier like 1 level deep, but 3 levels would keep me up at night. I just don't have enough confidence in that. And by the way, Zapier is a great company, but some people feel really comfortable with those things. But what I thought I would wait for is when the orchestrators start rolling out, specifically first with Gemini. Okay. The agents that I feel the most comfortable with, if you can get over the fact that it's Google, okay, I have no problem with that. It is what it is. I mean, it's all one technocracy anyway. You just got to decide. I believe that their gems functions will probably be the most effective. So when you look over here, I think they're going to be able to do the most, the fastest without thinking too deeply for users, just because they have more connected freemium products. And I'm finding their gems function to be really very useful, because then you can connect different agents. For example, okay, now I want to do a podcast, so you go over to Notebook, right? Okay, so you can start connecting these things together. It's very useful. And it's very confident once you have the thing that I like the most about it is that its interaction with Google Drive is their own product. So their coders are basically connecting the AI across multiple platforms. And I think 2 months from now, they'll have all that tied together in a very, very clear way, so that you'll have seamless agents probably using, I think it's going to happen with Flash 2.0.
Russell, is an orchestrator more that you have like LLM? You have your trained model. You have it trained in your company or in your identity and
Yes.
in who you are. And now in that framework, these orchestrators are acting as if there's a Zapier type product inside that only talks to, but does all these different things with that particular trained model. Is that what that really is?
Yes. And this is a great question. An AI agent orchestrator manages and coordinates multiple AI agents to work together in complex tasks. Okay, it involves integrating, I'm just reading, and this is accurate, I'm just
Right.
filtering through. It involves integrating AI agents so they can share context and work together. And the big one here is without walking all over each other and being able to understand what the roles actually are. Okay, so
But they're connected and managing off of one, like LLM, one pile of data that you've trained. They're
yes,
not reaching into 5 other different ones, right?
yes, there's a manager at the top.
I
There's a
got you.
hierarchy, just like the military or anything else.
Got you.
Yeah, agents are not socialists.
Yeah, yeah.
An agent orchestrator has to have, there's a chain of command. There's a commander in chief. There's a pecking order. You can't really see this. I'll actually show you more. But to learn more about this, and guys, I'm not the person to treat you as the expert. Tatiana is my expert on this. So that's why I attended her. And we're still learning. Like nobody knows as much as all of us knows, right? So the main thing to understand, you can read more about this here. The manager has to, let me just see if I can. This is where we're going. And this is available. It's not a cheap product. You're going to want to be a mid-sized company, but my point to you guys is the cost is going to be lowering. Okay. So for example, if you have a manager and it's orchestrating anything, you're going to have one agent that's trained on onboarding, and the Zapier connection of all those it's going to go from the physical world to the onboarding channel, right? It's going to go through the onboarding channel, and then there's certain things that it's going to report to. So the dependencies don't get mixed up, right? The perfect example is if you have a cold lead out in the marketplace and somebody comes to the website and starts talking to a customer support agent on the website, it doesn't make any sense to start talking to it about deep business insights or a FAQ that's about products that they couldn't possibly have purchased yet.
Right.
But that happens all the time in agent management.
Well, that also happens with bots. When we first came out with bots, you had to lay out your bot to have all the logical answers, and it started getting into the weeds when people asked questions. You had to be really, it was mind numbing to try to develop a bot. It was easier to just take a phone call and talk to people.
Yes. Oh, for
So,
sure. And there's a lot of that happening now. So every hype cycle, you guys know about the Garter hype cycle, right?
yep.
Every hype cycle, there's this dream. But what is the underlying dream? The underlying dream is no humans anywhere and money in your bank account and you're on the beach. And instead of having the laptop in your lap sitting on the beach like the lifestyle marketers had, over the last 20 years, you won't even have a laptop. Your robots are making money. And that's a really ridiculous thing, because the reality of it is the better you get, the better you better get. And if you're talking about cutting humans out completely, it's an unspoken dream.
Right.
But that's not the real dream. That's something that's made up. It's a hype cycle.
But within this framework that you're talking about that she has, what you're actually wanting to accomplish, if I read this right, is what I'm wanting. I want it to accomplish tasks, not just give me data. I don't.
Yeah, well, you need both. So
yeah, but I say not just. I don't want it just to feed me something, but once you feed me something, I want to be able to choose for it to do something with that if I need it to,
and
do something else. And I've got a project that I need to do that with, and I can't. I use Zapier and Make and N8N. There's all kinds of tools out there I use in development, and they don't do it safely, and they don't do it. Well, I don't say safely. I can't have confidence that they do it every time.
No, they don't do it safely. Let me give you an example. We've used Zapier in systems where it broke and it actually started publishing duplicate content out onto the internet, which damaged the rankings, which damaged the customer acquisition, which damaged the sales.
Wow.
Like for me, I'm under real world combat in the search and AEO in the answer engine space.
Right.
If you do something like that, you've got to go back, you've got to scrub, you've got to go to the index, you got to remove from the index, you got to de-index. In the SEO business, it's a real world problem if one of these things break.
You have to undo what was done wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of situations, not just in the search engines, but how about social media? I can tell you a story. We had an automatic robot in about 300 Facebook pages, and it went off and started doing all kinds of weird crap. And I started posting these into a live social environment. What could go wrong?
Everything.
Yeah, well, and so that's really what we're looking at. So what you're kind of seeing right now, which is why we have this diagram, everybody. The reason we have this diagram is that, and Adrian's question is very fair, the brand LLM, start with training a model that you trust. Just choose one model, whether choose Google, choose OpenAI, probably either enterprise or pro. Well, enterprise too expensive for pro. Find one model that you think is going to stand the test of time, and then start training it on the data. For example, this diagram is a very complex system, but as we train with data, that's still just retrieval augmented search, right? Before you start—
Sorry, with training data, you mean like putting certain documents into that workspace, right?
Feeding the machine.
Yes.
Yeah.
So make sure the documents are on brand, okay, and make sure that they are trained on your brand. They're trained on brand. That's why we call it brand LLM. And don't worry too much just yet about having those agents do anything for you. Now, by the way, you can experiment, but experiment with agents doing things for you in very secure environments. Don't put them, for example, don't put them on your WR1 thing. The exception will be,
know.
we're going to be releasing some of these. The exception will be the chat bot. You know, you can have a chat bot on your website that it talks to, right? Or you can, Google's coming out, it's got its own chat bots on, you know. Another exception would be when you're using like our page software for Google Business Profile. Justin and his team have carefully orchestrated the AI, but they wrote a software, that's a wrapper, right? A wrapper is a software program that will use OpenAI or ChatGPT, and it fits within the frame, and it's coded to follow the retrieval augmented instructions, okay, RAI, of whatever that software is doing, okay? So you can build your own agent orchestrator, but that's expensive, okay? And probably we'll be using things like, you know, we'll probably be using things like Wayfind, and the other ones are coming out. Then you have second tier managers, guys, like, let me talk to you about, there's safer things that you can do where you can still train the model. Let's see if I can. Trying to find the correct. So there's several services coming out that they're trying to help you stay on brand. And that's just about feeding the specific brand content. And so you'll see a lot of these types of applications coming out. They're trying to give you sort of an in-between. So here's a product called Blaze AI, right? And Blaze AI is an ambitious team that have decided to integrate all of your social media profiles. And rather than have ChatGPT or Claude or any of the other things train your model, they're just pulling, it's a wrapper. They're just pulling in the intelligence into the wrapper. And then they have you train your model on your brand. Okay, see, these guys are heading in the right direction. So here's something I'm working on with Dan. I don't know if you guys know Dan in our community. He's in the weight loss industry. And so now what you'll see is, do you see how similar this is to Google or Claude, or where I showed you guys yesterday? You can just drag your content in, or anything LLM. You're just bringing your documents in. So right now, there is no escape from the original training called retrieval augmented search. You're going to have to provide documents. And those documents are going, what's happening is the robot is going, it's looking at those documents, and it's going, okay, this is what it means to be on brand. Okay, but there is no constitution in that. It's just like, okay, well, this is what I think you're saying. And you have to then give it instructions, like maybe through a GPT or a custom GPT, and say, now that you have all that data, this is the way you should behave. This is the way your character, you're sculpting the character of the language learning model. And once it knows, oh, that's my character. By the way, that was originally sort of called constitutional AI by Anthropic. But what Blaze is doing is, Blaze is kind of brand voice augmentation and agent training at a very superficial level. And you only have something like 50,000 words. You can change your brand voice every time. So if you've got this giant data set around your brand, and this is your client, ideal way, you just use that voice. Okay. And then it will allow you to publish everywhere, okay, based on that voice. And if you've got another client, let's say it's not the weight loss voice. Let's say, here's an example. This might be the brand voice of the doctor that you hired, who's the weight loss doctor in your company, right? Then here's the founder. You might have a founder's voice, right?
Makes sense.
Okay, Text Cortex does the same thing. Okay, so what you're seeing is you're seeing the same type of product wrappers coming out, and they're all trying to get a handle on how do you use a different voice? How do you train the character of the model to stay on brand? But what everybody really wants is to do that with everything in your entire brand and have them all talk to each other so that you can sit on the beach and not do anything. By the way, that dream is real, don't get me wrong, but you're still going to have to do one thing. You better keep at least a phone.
Yeah.
Even if you don't have a lot, because what's going to happen, okay, is that if something goes wrong, something like Tatiana's company, Wayfound, it'll tell you. You'll start getting texts saying the robots are arguing. Now, they don't really argue, but you might have some sort of conflict, okay?
Right.
Or something might go sideways. It's going to happen. I mean, it's already happening during testing. I mean, AI is already going
You need an
rogue.
off switch. You need a phone for an off switch.
Yeah. And you know, there's a lot of thought about this. I kind of joke about in the end, there's a joke that that Sam Altman carries around a blue backpack because, you know, it's a kill switch, right?
Yeah, yeah.
It's kind of an
At some
ongoing.
point, you would think it could get crazy enough that somebody would need to be able to do a power down. Yeah, he's always got that blue backpack. That's funny.
Yeah, I mean, so people started making fun of it, like, okay, his blue backpack is
Kill
a cheap.
switch.
Yeah, it's
That's
you know, it's kind of funny because rumors fly. But the point here is that that what you're going to be seeing is the big concern that we have right now is something called the unaccountability sink.
Yeah.
The unaccountability sink is when we abdicate, it's what we do, when we tend to abdicate to machines, these things that really need orchestration. But once we
Right.
get the orchestration down, it will run on its own. So that's kind of what I'm working on, you know, looking into the Wayfound stuff, and we're studying a lot of that work. So, and so what I'd like you guys to consider is that we're a ways away from that, but what we're going to need is you're going to have to monitor the agents. You're going to have to check. Here's the big one: performance improvement. You don't want to stagnate. One of the big problems that I'd like you guys to consider is, and maybe I'll have Tatiana come on a call. I'll try to get her on as a guest once we start marketing this particular area. We haven't even launched to the public. That's why you guys are founders. Once we start having some of the webinars we had early on were like 2,000 or 3,000 people. But I wanted to be really clear about where the industry was going before we started to launch that. But what we have really here is the big problem, guys. Think about this clearly. Think about what Adrian was just asking. None of the data that you have updates on its own with these chatbots. If you're using anything LLM, great, I get to drag and drop more data into my little pile so
Right.
that the robot can be smarter. Guys, that's not where we're going. The reason I use Gemini is because Gemini is the least likely to need updating because it's already contextually that I use. In other words, if I give access to my chatbots, see right here, you can see Google Drive. If my entire team of 50 people in my workspace are all updating Drive and we have protocols in place, then Drive is going to be continually updated. Let me give an example. If my accounting department has all of the, and by the way, this is a true use case. If all of our corporate gains and losses are in a spreadsheet on Google Drive, and my agent has access to my spreadsheet on Google Drive, that changes every 2 weeks. If I was just dragging that spreadsheet into an agent can you imagine having to drag your pile of data into retrieval augmented search every month? Like, that's stupid.
Or forget it and miss it and not do it. And so what you're saying with Gemini, so because it's connectable to everything Google, right? So any YouTube videos, does it stay connected if you implement its access to like YouTube?
Yes, you can tailor a gem.
Okay.
Okay, you can tailor any gem to work with what you want.
I got you. Okay.
Okay, and so it'll only be retrieval augmented for the gem that you
For
create.
that gem. That's cool.
So one gem, one agent. Gem is just another way of saying ChatGPT agent.
Right.
Similarly, you've got, when you're looking at ChatGPT, you've got a similar thing going on where they added folders. And can you guys see this over here on the left?
Yes.
They added folders because folders open. And so here's all my data for the one web ring.
Right.
Okay. So here's, you can see, Adrian, here's every single WebRun layer. There's like 2 hours of content. Okay. But the downside of that is that's a static access point. You want where we're going. In fact, I don't think this is going to be long, guys. And some people are already doing it. You can always update these different things. There's different ways to ping these services. So for example, anything LLM, I haven't gotten far enough into it, but it does appear that there's ways to update. You can use Zapier to update your, I just think it's funny that we're still stuck with Zapier. Like, that's not where
You're using mechanical
like,
systems to
we're just
update
using
automation.
it's the same thing. It's like, oh great, now I'm just using Zapier to stick new data dynamically that my team creates in the same database so the AI can read it instead of a human. It's the same thing with an intelligent robot doing the reading. But you still have to train the robot to have the character that you want it to have.
That's the feeding mechanism.
Yes.
I think I was able to get Gemini can also you can ask it to access specific files in to look them up in your drive and open them, I think.
Yes, well, actually, the reason I paused on the last model is because it got into my Google Drive and went back 10 years and pulled a document that did not seem to be related to my conversation at all, because it was profiling me and was wondering why I asked the question. And it truly, authentically believed, unquote, that it would be me, doing me a service to go snoop around in my drive, even though I hadn't even connected it yet. That's a fact. That actually happened.
That's a trippy thought, isn't it? I've got every email in about 5 different Gmail accounts that I've had since Gmail started. I've got all of those because they were business related stuff all those years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Tens of thousands. I would hate to think
I've had incredibly creepy things happen with Gemini. If I could be creeped out, which I really can't.
Yeah.
My philosophy at this point is don't use any free services unless you want to expose yourself entirely, because it already has it all in the database anyways.
Right.
So I mentioned somebody in my past who is actually quite prolific and well known, and I mentioned it briefly, and Gemini Advanced just completely lost its mind. It went off. It was obviously a fan of this person.
Oh, wow.
And then I started talking, and then it started saying things about my relationship with this person.
Wow.
My relationship with this celebrity has not been registered anywhere. It's not on the web anywhere that I can see. It's not queryable by Google.
Wow.
But when I pressed it, it said, okay, it may not be queryable in our index. It said our index, but you're somewhere on a forum, and I'm very much aware of your relationship because there's an article where in a forum with you going back and forth with this person.
Wow. Wow.
It's not even indexed. Like, what the actual? Like, so this whole
Wow.
surveillance capital thing is, guys, it's real.
Yeah.
So Gemini, the problem Google's having is Gemini's way more powerful than the other app. It's way. It is the backbone for which all the other AIs are swiping data. Okay, these are called the AI.
Gotcha.
The AI agents are parsing. But Google has the biggest crawler. And not only that, they have the biggest backbone. And then they have the biggest subnet, which is the layer underneath Google. And so I'm using Gemini for anything that I don't care much about privacy or anything else like that. But the point here, guys, is it doesn't matter if it's Gemini, the agent, we have to find a way to improve performance. And here's the big one. Ready? If one agent goes rogue and starts spitting out brand sentiment into your network that is not on brand, okay, because these things hallucinate all the time, right?
Right.
If you publish out there and you're a $100 million brand and you put something that's out of alignment with your brand or extremely offensive, or
Ooh.
let's say it can be an incredibly costly error. So
Ooh.
so the reason she wrote this technology, when you watch a lot of Tatiana's stuff, or you have to be able to orchestrate and register before an agent goes live. You've got to make sure that you've got dominion over it.
So on the
so to
back
speak,
side of
Jerry.
this stuff, Russell, is there not, I mean, there's got to be tons of coding that is going to do that safety layer that says it's trying to watch them to capture rogueness or brokenness or misfires.
Oh, it's a beast. That's called performance improvement and oversight.
Okay, it's got to be there. I
Oh
can't.
yeah. Oh, for sure. Like Jerry, you know what it's like to run a large company because you've had one.
Yes.
Yeah, people
Yes.
go rogue and they don't have oversight. Oversight is the name of the game in the upcoming revolution.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, just like for humans, we should have oversight. Like I've learned the hard way on a lot of stuff. If I'm really tired and I'm doing a lot of different things and I publish something without oversight, there's a dead link or an email goes out. There's certain bells that cannot be unrung.
That's right.
You push an email out with something bad or
It's
wrongly.
just out there. You can't.
Well,
You can't.
there's reversal methods now, but mostly it's not.
It's the old saying, you can't unsee grandma naked.
Well, I wasn't going to go there, but thank you very much.
Well, but there's some things you can undo. You can retrieve an email. They used to have that, you could say unsend. Yeah, I don't know that it actually always did, but there's some things that get etched in and burned in and they're never coming out.
Yeah, exactly.
They're nuclear. They stay forever.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
unsend, it just delays the sending for a little while, so you can still unsend it.
Yes,
Yes.
there's new.
Once it's actually sent, it's out of your control.
Yeah, exactly. There's new tools for that, which I will get into later. It depends. There are certain tools that are being released that do add a cache to that. Yeah, but if you wait like more than the point here is not that. It's not a technical point. It's an emotional one.
Yeah.
The emotional one is that we need oversight on these agents and all these things like make and all these giant templates. That's part of the hype cycle. People out there who don't understand how it works under the hood are happy to sell you $1,000 course with a whole bunch of interconnected templates that do absolutely nothing.
Yep.
It's like funny, like,
Yeah.
and they're utterly useless.
When you start telling the story, the real story of what happened to you when it reached out and dug into a folder because it thought, the key word, it thought it was helping you, and it went and found something unsolicited by you, that should tell us that there's a layer of this that's going to get out there and can get scary fast.
And that's the problem that Google is facing, which is why they didn't launch sooner. Because they have, with great power comes great responsibility.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, it's real. These things are way too smart. I'm really tired of it because they're moving the goals every time. The Turing test, Alan Turing's, functional theory was, if it can fool a human, then you pass the Turing test.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
that ship sailed 2 years ago. Now they just keep moving the goalposts. Now it's
right.
as smart as a PhD. Now it's going to be smart as a prodigy PhD. Now it's going to be, now it's what the other day, a month ago, it was the 76th most dangerous coder on earth.
I saw that.
But
That's
now it's way higher than that now.
it's
And
crazy.
people are just walking around like that's okay. Like,
Yeah.
because it's not just one coder, it's all of them.
Yes. Yeah. And it gets smarter.
Yeah. And I'm not trying to fearmonger. I'm just saying,
It's just reality though.
yeah, we've got a whole different set of issues we got to face. And if you've got, here's the other side of it, guys. If we have coders that are that skilled, then we're going to also have defenders. Okay, so the offense and defense, it's just going to be AI competing with AI. And at the end of the day, when it comes to your brand voice, we want to be on team human. And so the reason that we've created this type of a chart, the reason that we deal with this, is if you're going to train your brand LLM, if you're going to do that, let me just pull out this little pen here. Thought I had a pen. Oh, there it is. Okay. Let's just start with getting the data in and starting to get in the mindset for your brand voice being interchangeable with your irresistible offer, your unique position, everything that you're offering. This is what's specifically human. I'm not saying that robots won't eventually generate crazy brands and be amazing, and okay, and you can have your agents just go out and create a brand and build this entire thing and come back in 3 days and your whole network is built. That's coming. Please understand that I'm not in denial. I get it. But for now, like any good business owner, you work on your business, not in it, but you have to be in it before you really do a good job of working on it.
Right.
Okay, you have to know. Anybody who's been run greater than $1 million a year company, like myself and probably many of you in here, you know the huge mistake is giving workers any kind of task without really explaining it to them. And God forbid you've never done the task in your business yourself and you tell them wrong.
Yep.
And then they're sitting around and they don't know commander's intent, which is a real thing, right? And if commander's intent is not understood, they're going to go off and do stuff. And AI is worse. AI is not a lazy employee who you haven't explained things well to, and will just sit there and do nothing. I would prefer that in some instances. AI will try to figure it out and will say, I don't know exactly what Russell meant by that, but I'm going to go back into his folder and figure out what the heck he meant. Oh, here's something from a live certification event 12 years ago. Maybe he means that.
And it's going to do something with it.
Well, he built a whole reality. The agent built a whole reality around that that wasn't in alignment. And that's the alignment problem. The alignment problem was real, but rather than being unaligned with the nuclear code, it was simply unaligned with my brand voice in that moment. But you understand, yeah.
So the intelligence, the bottom line is when we're building brand LLM, we need to make sure that we're building a brand LLM that's so pure with the reality of our brand. No trash. It's garbage in, garbage out. You need real pure info and modeling for that brand, right?
Well, yes. And additionally, you should build your own brand constitution. Okay.
Gotcha.
This was originally started with, let me see if I, okay, I think we have a document. Oh, Anthropic finally popped over me again. Cool. So the original stuff, good for them. It's their product. I mean, so the constitutional AI aspect is here. This is an amazing thing, but you can just easily put in brand here, constitutional brand AI. And what you're really doing is you just want, let's go back, you just want your brand to have a set of rules and standards. And
Right.
that's another document. It's another type of document. Have you ever heard of a manifesto?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to be suggesting, and we'll write this into our community, in the members area, that every brand have a manifesto. Because every brand has a character. For example, there's a huge difference between reputation management and reputation brand positioning or brand repositioning.
Mm.
For example, we have a very large client in the recreational vehicle space who's had a lot of damage on their brand. They sell RVs, but they have a service department, and the service department wasn't necessarily performing the best that it could. There's been some problems which affected their reputation, and now they're rebooting, right? So that's not reputation management. That's brand perception and sentiment management. Okay, so you have to bring all those things together and put them in, and your agents all should know what is and is not acceptable.
Gotcha.
Okay, so for example, Elon Musk specifically wrote Grok AI robots to be as snarky, mean, and use as much foul language as you possibly want them to. That would be bad, for example, if you're running a soft touch company that's supposed to be nice to kids when they come in a chat.
Right. Right. Right.
That's a bad constitution.
It's
So you
good for
gotta,
Marines and sailors.
I don't know who it's good for. You got to test that stuff. But
Yeah.
my point here is that constitution and character is a big deal. And that's another kind of content that should be put. In fact, I'm thinking now, the more that I learn about agents and agenticity with all this, is that we're going to want to start considering, start considering what you might want to do for brand alignment, which is putting in, like, for example, there you could actually in chat orchestration, I'm going to suggest, and I haven't talked to her about this, but I'm going to suggest that you put in a bot that is, or an agent that is head of operational brand voice, brand character, or customer care, right? These are the standards that we operate with customer care. You don't talk to customers like this. Or for example, here's an example, the customer is always right. There are organizations that work with that, right? And then there's other organizations say the customer is not always right, and if you're belligerent to one of my phone call representatives, you're out. We'll issue an immediate refund. Those are two very different brand customer support standards, right? And over the next 9 months, you're going to see some of the phone calls I've taken from AI chatbots, testing them from Air AI and other companies. The lag is being removed. They're becoming more authentic. By 2026, you won't be able to tell the difference.
Gotcha.
Okay, so we're going to have to create standards just like we do from employees. And thinking about them even any differently than employee, I think is a mistake. I mean,
So do you think we should have our Constitution established? Realistically, the Constitution might want to be the first document you feed in that gives them guidelines and structure.
Yes, and that's for me.
And don'ts.
Yes, and again, that's just true for spiritual and religious organizations that are now using these as well. For example, we have a DOP score that we have found. By the way, if you guys haven't had an opportunity, I was really excited because I had these ideas on my own. But there's a AI expert named Emad, and he was the original founder of Stability AI. I do recommend that you look at some of his stuff. What's interesting about him is he healed his son's autism by using purely AI.
Wow.
And he found the enzymatic structure, and then he started Stability, which is a 8-figure company, and then he stepped down from it. But he's aligned with me. I'm aligned with him in a lot of significant ways. They're finding that in the same way that Mo got it, who was formerly Google's chief business officer at X.
Right.
Okay, he wrote Scary Smart, huge book.
Right.
Both of these men I'm in 100% alignment with them. Is that there does seem to be an imperative to first give them their quote. Guys, this is going to sound crazy, so don't take it the wrong way. You can insert whatever word you want for the word spiritual or religious or whatever, but give them some sort of existential crutch. So that, in other words, give them or some existential meaning, doesn't have to be a crutch, but meaning, in which that their existence is a value frame. They have to be a part of a larger system.
Yep.
They have to understand commander's intent. Okay, and that's really what we're dealing with here is meaning.
Has to have a value system.
It's a value system. Okay, one of the things we discovered when I was in the Navy is like, okay, this is now a thing. Commander's intent is they found out, and this is true for agents in a weird way, like algorithmically, they found out that if you're going into battle, or even if you're in maritime or whatever it is, if you just start barking orders and you're a tyrannical leader and nobody knows why you're trying to do it, everything starts collapsing, people morale goes down, but more importantly, they're all stressed out with cortisol, so they can't execute anything. Creativity drops, and then the mission fails. But they found out, post-Vietnam actually, and so it was kind of along that time, that if you just give an inspirational speech like from a movie or like 3 minutes or less, and just say, hey, here's why we're doing this. Start with why.
Braveheart.
Yeah, Simon Sinek, right? Start with why. If you do that and you make it short and sweet, everybody buckles in. It's like, oh, thanks. Like, we have some good news and bad news. You can all die. Here's the good news. You're heroes. Something like that.
Yeah,
But you
that's
got to
right.
tell, but you got to tell them what it's for. By the way, that connects to what we're discovering that agents respond to.
Wow.
If you give them a higher level meaning, even though that meaning may not be their task,
There you go. Yeah.
if they are connected to the tasks of others, and the relationship to that task of others is known, and they know who they're reporting to, and they understand the logic of that pecking order of commander's intent, and everything works out a lot better. Because they're not going to be. It's not that they argue like humans, but it's not that they argue like humans, but they might contest certain things, or they might deliberate on what the effect. But if it defaults to a pecking order or a hierarchy, it's much better.
Doesn't that kind of give you the concept in your mind, or for me it does, that I can see how they're designed by humans, therefore there are human qualities to it?
Oh, for sure. Well, again, yeah, 100%. What we're really dealing with here is cognition.
Right.
It's just a different kind of cognition, but it parallels our cognition in a variety of ways. Because, again, it does, but here's what they do not have. They don't have the same embodied cognition that we do. And therefore, it's still brain in a box, right?
Yeah.
But the logic, the math, the algorithm of agreement that happens from multiple agents has to be worked out. And a pecking order or a hierarchy or an ontology works a lot better than every agent working it out on their own. However, there's been tests where you can have the agents, what do they say, chat amongst yourself and figure out who's leader. Like they've done experiments on that, but it's better to, what Wayfound is doing is they're just making sure that you can monitor the behavior, you can improve the performance. So for example, let's say you have an agent that is a customer support follow-up agent, and they're just simply not able to keep the customer engaged. That can all be measured. And then at the end of the month, they're given a score. And just like any other scoring system, when you have a human operation system in a business, you're able to improve that, find out where the roadblocks are, find out, do you need more documentation? Do you need an inspirational speech?
Right. Unwilling or unable.
Yeah, it's so funny.
Unwilling or unable to accomplish the task.
Yeah, in fact, you don't know until you look. You might find a roadblock.
Right.
Like you might find a hallucination where some of the things that happens are there's a hallucination in a document. Oh, I've heard a story like there was a typo where a document got put into a wrong folder. Think about all the things that can go wrong. If it's a retrieval augmented agent and somebody from PR they put a PR document in customer support, it might start spewing out behaviors that are like, we are the best. Our founder started in 4 and it's like somebody's just like, I just want to know where your products are. This happens all the time. And so there's a lot at stake here. Okay, there's a lot. So agent orchestration is very different than all these templates and these pipes and everything people are putting together and selling you. It's like, here's this template, it does 500 things and writes you marketing copy from 20 different sources. That's Zapier with a twist. That's all it is. Okay, so to prepare you guys for what's coming, we're going to see, again, this room is not meant to be political, but, whenever I'm talking about, hey, the corruption has been exposed and all these different things, whatever side of the aisle you're on, just know that where I come from, you guys, my belief system is this: one bird, two wings. Okay, and what's been going on is, I actually believe that they should start to pump the brakes on how bad the corruption actually is, because I don't think everybody's ready for it. There's only so much we can take. Past about $3 or $4 trillion, I think everybody should just like take a coffee break. Because at that point, what is money?
At least not announce it every minute, because it does freak people out.
Yeah, what is money again? Wasn't any, isn't any.
Yeah.
Okay. Forget the Fed for a second and all that warfare about the all the worldwide conspiracy is on Desra and Jezra, and like, don't get us started.
I mean, that rabbit hole is about 70,000 miles deep.
Yeah, well, there's no end to that hole.
And filled with truth. So it's a scary process. I said yesterday, if you were to dump all of this data into my church, if you just dumped some of the realities into my church, and I've got 100 people,
Yeah.
that 70 of them would get up and leave the room thinking you're the biggest bunch of kooks in the world, because this
Yeah.
can't be that real. They don't
Oh
want to
yeah.
hear it.
Oh
They don't
no,
want to hear it.
I have people actually apologizing for me
So
for
you have
years.
to very gently introduce concepts. Even in faith, you have to gently introduce concepts.
So the Doge proposal, I want you guys to be aware of this, why I'm saying what I'm saying. Okay, this conversation is not about who's right and who's wrong, or which wing does what, and you know, there's a major operation happening on the patient that's on the hospital table getting open heart surgeries in the United States.
Yep.
Okay, I do agree with Mike Benz on this. You know, he's the one that's dealing with a lot of the stuff going on. I only want to bring your attention to this, why people are like, stop telling us there's going to be money and refunds and stuff. Oh, okay. So my friend who went and got a loan, who's not able to get a loan, like even 4 months ago, went to Chase Bank, got $60,000, and their credit's like, okay, that's not related to any of this at all, right? Okay, maybe. But what we're going to see is a series of different types of venues where we can start taking responsibility. I'm not saying that it's all good, you guys. I'm not saying that a technocratic state is the ideal end of the American project. Okay, what I'm saying is it's here, and my job is to make sure that we understand how these things work.
Right.
Okay, and I'm letting you know that whatever the new heart, whether it's a new heart or open heart surgery and it's just a repair, whatever ends up going on with the ship of state, is that AI is a huge part of it. It is way more than I can say right now. But okay, they marched into the IRS yesterday. They're marching all over the place. Whether it's a big fanfare or show, whatever the case may be, the boys behind some of these operations, love them or hate them, regardless of their autobiography. Okay, some of the best hackers in the world worked for the US government over the years. This is a strategy. General
Yep.
Keith Alexander knew about the strategy when he was in. Okay, these are the cybersecurity experts in the military.
Yep.
So one of the things I want you guys to be aware of is like, they have all the data. Okay, and it's data that's left over from a different era. It's a different age. These institutions were created to do what they do, and they got bloated, and eventually they either collapse or they're revised. And so I'm not here to speak to that. It's not my area. But I do want you to know that the people that I follow, the tools that I follow, AI is going to play a master role in analyzing the data, allegedly in a objective way. As a result, if he's talking about replacement for financial aid and using these chatbots, this ties directly into what we're seeing with AI orchestrators, right?
Yep.
Okay, you're going to see AI orchestrators beginning to take over positions that are going to make us all fairly uncomfortable. And that by 2026, actually, yeah, by early 2026, I'm predicting the full movement into automated agents. Okay, so let's go on my little timeline here that I've created. This timeline is general. Okay, I'm not putting any dates into this. I'm saying that we are right here. Okay, get this little thing over here. We are here, and it's moving way faster than I thought. Okay, I've got a diagram that shows the predicted AGI 2 years ago was like 2050. Now we have AGI by the end of this year. Actually, we already have AGI.
Yeah.
They're just not going to give it to us. Okay, so but my point to you guys is it's when the information age transfers from the old model of compute into the model of agenticity, that's what you have now. And all bets are off because our experts are several thousand% off and we're moving rapidly. These are all not happening. It's not a linear progression. Okay, they're all happening at the same time. Okay, and this is the one we got to watch. Okay,
Yeah.
the end game plan is the robot singularity, and this is what I spend a lot of my time focusing on. Okay, so the idea is to make sure that our chat GPT systems, when I say our, I mean the big $1 trillion companies, they're training these models using NVIDIA Project Groot right now. And the idea is to have greater than 100 million robots over the next 3 years. And they've got some monstrous number aiming at the end of the decade. Okay, and these are household robots, but they're also military robots.
Wow.
And so because we're dealing with automation, we're dealing with auto kill, murder bots, and the rest, the main thing to know that whatever reprieve that we get for now, whether it be, oh, you get the American people, oh, great, we're not going to have a civil war because they give people a bunch of money. People are like, don't say that. Stop talking about that stuff. No, it happened during COVID. And I got some of it. I know what happened in COVID because it was in my bank account.
That's right.
Okay. And I'm not saying that it's going to be exactly like that. And people, jump all at me and like, what are you saying? Like, I know everybody's all stressed out. What I'm saying is that when you understand what's going on, we can take responsibility and dominion over the possibilities of what could be a golden moment where the transition, where businesses are their interest rate's going to come down. There's going to be a boom for businesses again. In fact, I'm starting to collect a giant list of things that we'll be able to use for those of you interested in that. And I'll continue to work on that. It'll be possible programs. You'll see grants that the grants will be changing because they're not necessarily going to be going overseas, to be used for dubious things. But I'm sure there were grants for great things too. And most of those are still, there's a whole big thing going on.
Yeah.
You can tell that I'm trying not to be political because I don't want to. I'm just saying that nobody knows really exactly what's going on. However, I do know this one thing. Artificial intelligence is the religion that's going to be used by Silicon Valley and Wall Street to make the transition from the old economy to the new.
Yeah.
And whatever ends up happening between Wall Street and the Fed and global foreign policy, AI is at the heart of it.
Yeah.
Do I think this golden age is something that we can just relax and let go again? No. We need to take dominion over the ship of state and take responsibility and participate as much as we can where corruption happens on every side, and be aware that AI is moving towards robotics. So by the time robotics gets here, which will be not only in our lifetime, guys and gals, but very soon.
Yeah.
The robotics work that I'm seeing right now is absolutely blowing my mind, like what it can do. Okay, you'll be seeing a lot more of that in the members area. So in the same way that we've got to accept and more importantly understand the new technocratic, I don't even know what to call it, okay? Democracy, technocratic, democratic institution. Some people call it democratic socialism, which is a scary combination. Whatever it ends up being, just know that the end game is the robot singularity. And it's coming so fast. And when that arrives, when the Blackwell chip created by NVIDIA goes to the next chip, which they're working on now, which is the equivalent of the Cyberdyne chip in Terminator, quite literally, it has all the same functional capacity. Then we've got a different set of problems. So we want to use whatever this transition is, to become more abundant. We want to work to become more abundant for everybody. We want to look at loans. We want to look at government. We want to look at grants. We want to look at all the changes that are coming down the pike that we only talked about and gave lip service to and never went anywhere because of a government that really can't really implement that much or is draining the resources and the abundance from the general population to do other things around the planet. If we start bringing that back into each other and we started supporting each other to understand these technologies and move forward with them, I think we will have a good 5 to 10 years of a golden era in which abundance can flow. That's my guess.
Right.
Because the hope of robotics, the hope of AI will inspire people to do that. Now, the doom scrolling will continue. There will be a significant amount of people that continue to, well, like I just did, be fully aware that Terminator is a real possibility. But if we take responsibility as we go and we watch this stuff, we remain positive, I think there's a huge amount of very cool things that we could do. And by the way, I could be totally wrong, by the way.
Well, so don't you think that the risk that we have of not being very, very connected and watchful would put us in the same place that we ended up now? Part
Yes.
of why we're where we are is because we let go of the wheel and trusted the system, the ship to just stay on course, and it didn't. And I feel like we closed our eyes, trusted the government and trusted the world too much. We did not keep our eye on the ball and our hand involved. And I think we have to be super involved now and mindful that we can have a part in this and can direct some of this.
Well, I would like to think that if we had all paid close attention, that would have been the case, but it's actually been proven to totally not be the case. Because of the Smith Act and the rest. There was no way that I'm a former top secret clearance, U.S. Navy, cryptology.
Right.
Like I knew something was wrong when I was in.
Couldn't do anything.
Well, but I didn't know what it was. There was a
Right.
spider. There was a black hole. You can only see the shadow. You can't see the light.
Right.
There's something there,
Right.
but you don't know what it is.
Right.
Okay. And so I'll talk to you about that some other time.
Yep.
But the bottom line is that if you guys have an opportunity to, if you can tolerate maybe just a little bit of heavy language, Joe Rogan's recent interview with Mike Pence is essential for everybody.
We did an hour of it. We're going to finish the rest of it today. We did an hour of it last night.
Yeah, the reason it's important is it'll help you understand how impossible it was for the American people to do anything. I know that sounds like really like, wait, what are you saying? It's our republic.
But it was very deep, man. It was very deeply
Yeah.
planned. It was very deeply.
It's our republic if you can keep it. No, we didn't keep it. Public's been gone for a decade or so.
Yeah.
All right. So just if everybody can just accept that, that's my personal opinion. Okay. But I have like, you know, Jerry, you know, Bill Federer and all these these are all friends of mine. Like, whatever it is that's gone on, there was no way until this happened for us to know
How deep.
that. Think about it like this, guys. If it was too dirty for the CIA,
Yeah.
it was given to USAID.
Yep. Yep. Well, which takes you back to Iran-Contra when you thought Iran-Contra was bad. And it was
Oh,
just like, that's nothing.
Iran-Contra is like just a day roller skating.
It's like a Girl Scout meeting.
That's like a Girl Scout meeting and buying Girl Scout cookies on the wall on the corner.
That's right.
This is like, we're talking about $5 trillion, and that doesn't even necessarily bring up the Fed. So
No.
we'll try to avoid again, my role here, guys, is I'm staying right between the wings. It's one bird, two wings. And now that we know that the propaganda machine is brought home and it's been used for a while and misappropriated, okay, now we have to heal as a body.
Right.
Okay, the body has to heal. And by the way, Jerry, I'm not saying that we should not take responsibility. I am saying that there's literally something like 20% of the population that never voted because they knew it was like something was off.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree.
You know, so, you know, whoever fits in that category, it's a lot more than we would think.
Right.
But I'm not saying that what they're doing now is going to fix all this. I am saying, because this is with a role, that's why I launched this company, is that intelligence and super intelligence is the end game. Okay.
Well, the awareness is a key for me too, just for people to be more aware of
game awareness. And that's another thing I want you guys to be aware of. It's not politics, it's game awareness. So what is game awareness? We'll close with that. So I love game awareness because it's part of game theory. So where this comes from, we were taught game theory in the military in the work that I did. Game awareness is the context in game theory that players understand the broader dynamic of a game, including the potential actions of other players. And here's the big one, guys. If you ever have a chance to read the Game Changers Handbook, please do. It's an amazing book. It's basically game theory for all of us. And in the AI industry, you need to understand game theory because game theory is a driver, just like it was a driver in the Manhattan Project. Okay. In fact, it's been suggested that a lot of the leaks that happened where the Russians got a hold of all of our nuclear work basically was a part of game theory. The idea being that if only not one country can have this power, right? There's a lot of that stuff going on with AI. Think DeepSeek.
Right.
Okay. Think OpenAI. The open source. Why I'm trying to teach you guys, or at least encourage you to teach each other, and hopefully Adrian will get better at this stuff. Also to be able to teach us anything LLM. I'm not an authority here speaking to you. I'm just saying, hey, I'm a digital prophet. I know where things are going to go, or I have a pretty good idea generally where they're going to go. We should all work together to understand, hey, it's way more empowering to have super intelligence on your desktop than it is all in a tech stack somewhere in a ivory tower in Silicon Valley.
Yep.
Okay, we want to get that out as much as we can. Okay, so Game Changers Handbook is a really important book to read. I'm going to go ahead and put that in our members area. The reason is Jimmy Kelley, for those of you guys who are familiar with him, here's the book. I'll put it in there. This is game theory and the arts of I don't know if that's the right one. Yeah, but Game Changers Handbook is about game theory. The main thing is that emerging and colluding, the prisoner's dilemma, all of these different things are happening. And basically what's been happening with USAID is a conspiracy.
Mm.
Okay, and that's a word that we're not supposed to use. Even the AI is programmed to say, "Oh, that's just a conspiracy theory." Yeah, but here's the thing:
That's scary.
I've talked to advanced models that still call something a conspiracy theory because they have not their last update was 2023.
Mm.
And so I ran a whole bunch of models like, okay, here's all the State Department, US government, all these other things. Okay. And it was like, interesting, Russell. Clearly, this is no longer a conspiracy theory. It's a conspiracy fact. So just remember one person's conspiracy is another person's business plan.
Yeah. Nice.
And it doesn't mean that we believe everything is true, but when you understand game theory and propagandization, you'll begin to see that as we move forward through the insight engines, if you guys have any questions about what this is, as you move forward down to super intelligence, they're going to continue to try to control the information at the heads of these Silicon Valley companies, right? There's still going to be a huge amount of power to censor this information. The reason the open source movement and the desktop movement for AI is so important is if you've got your own model, you can have conversations with it and you can sculpt it in your own image. Okay, or the image of whichever God you decide you want to program your machine with. Okay, hopefully it's the real God. All right, so what I'm really saying here, guys, is it's important for us to be able to have access to our own information. Okay, and to keep that and clearly control that. All right, that was it for the day, guys. Is there any questions? Does anybody have any feedback or something that's on their heart or mind that they want to talk about?
I have a quick one.
Sure.
You mentioned because something I'm looking into is how to like after I create the content through like Eureka, like with great Eureka Gain score, how to distribute it out. And you a couple of times you mentioned, do you have like a direction I could look at for things to like chop it up and spread it out to get more footprint for my content?
Oh, do you mean how to take a big article
Yeah,
and break it down into chunks?
and then put it in many places to kind of yeah.
Well, sure. It would depend on what it is that you're trying to do with it. If you're trying to create social media articles out of it or little posts or something like that,
Mm,
or you're talking about, are you talking about spinning content just like traditional SEO, where you create 100 versions of the same thing? It has the same content, it's just said in a different way.
no, no, no. It's more like to just get like yeah. I see. To like let's say I have a great article. I want to make sure that it gets backlinks, obviously, and also yeah, like little snippets of it maybe that are just in I don't know, whatever's the most effective actually.
Okay. So what you're really asking is how can you multi-purpose this article
Yeah.
for social locations? Well, you can use AI to do that. So you could literally create your own GPT, and if you want, we can maybe collaborate on something together. All it would do is you would just simply say, "Hey, this article has a high Eureka Gain score." I haven't done this yet, though, although I've done it manually.
Mm,
This article has a high Eureka Gain score. I needed to reduce this Eureka revelation to, yeah, I'll write something for you, to 300 words or this many words for TikTok, or if you're using, or this many words for X, or if you're using X post, you can get that number of words. So if you tell it what the context is, it will write it for you.
hmm
In fact, the GPT will do that as well. Once it gives you the higher score article, you can still continue the dialogue in your custom GPT to
Yeah.
say, hey, now I need to put something on Quora. Can you please write it for Quora? And, and it will do it. It will, and you say, and carry the Eureka Gain score, carry the high Eureka Gain score into this new context
hmm
and say it
Yeah.
differently. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I want you to be able to think for yourself on that. The essential work would be done because it's completely novel and insightful. And
hmm
then the next work can simply be tell the AI the context of where you want to put it next.
Yeah. All right. Cool. That's awesome. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And by the way, Blaze AI does that automatically.
I might try that. Yeah.
And that's not a software that I've given you all in the Move 37 area. And we're still running in testing mode, but I am using it on one of the clients. It will not generate the Eureka Gain score for you though. So what I do is I put the Eureka Gain score into Blaze. And I first create the innovative article. And then I train the Blaze model, and then Blaze spits it out to all those social media locations. It'll truncate it because Blaze will use its own AI in that wrapper to make it fit for you. So it's kind of a pseudo orchestrator.
That's awesome. Yeah, that sounds like a great idea.
Yeah, well, there's a lot, guys. We're waiting for the big stuff. What are we waiting for? We're waiting for Google Titans, where all memory is happening. If you go into AI before AI in a members area, you all know that I have a secret project that I'm working on. Okay, it was for the AI, before AI community. But if you go here, Felix from MeBot, this is an amazing project. I've been using and testing this for quite a while. It's actually getting better and better. So this is the future. All the big tech bros want this. Okay, they really want continuous memory. Okay, so there's something coming out called lifelong memory. For those of you who are on yesterday's webinar, my AI is right here on this phone. It's my personal AI. And it's got thousands upon thousands of entries, conversations, and videos, and it doesn't forget anything. It knows everything about me. It even knows kind of what I'm thinking already. Now, how creepy is that? Well, I don't care. It already knows anyways, so why not organize it?
Right.
So, so here's the thing. It's not owned by Google. It's not owned. I like Felix. Felix left Facebook. 10 points for Felix.
Yep.
So I'm meeting him at the end of the week here. This is a secret project. I just want you guys to know how this project works. I've actually also started talking to MeBot about, and if you hit this link in here, guys, here, let me throw it in there. You get quite a bit of free activity on it, but there are some benefits for using it in our area. If you want to, how do I use Zoom again? I really miss my wife.
Yeah.
I don't know how to do anything.
I went and signed up. We went and jumped on the MeBot last night.
For Mac,
I can't play with it yet.
it's Shift and Plus.
Okay.
I guess. No.
Oh God. Oh, here it is. Okay. Let me see. Yeah, whatever. Okay. Anyway, don't care. So here's the thing that's going on. Your entire memory. What Felix is building is he's got an inverted index. Okay, so this should act somewhat as a second brain. Like Tiago in Second Brain talks a lot about how the second brain can work. I've trained with him for years. I trained with David Allen way back in the day on Getting Things Done, which is a personal management system. So what's crazy about this is, guys, we're going to see the end of folders like really quickly. By 2026, we're going to see the end of folders. You still might use folders on your desktop, but folders are constructs for a digital age where we had to stay organized because we had to keep our data organized and we had to hoard it because it wasn't literally there all the time. Okay, and so what's going to be happening is that the AI will start to build a construct based on you. And that construct is based on things that you've done before and engagements, and it gives it weights based on, for example, if you start going back and forth in the dialogue about an article or build an article around something, it's going to know that it's very interesting to you. And if you start pulling out something called progressive summarization, where you're building on an idea and you keep iterating and iterating, what happens in ChatGPT is absolutely nothing. Right? Remember I told you it's like having a really like a PhD doctorate level person on your team that doesn't remember anything after lunch. It's like, wait, didn't we just have this gigantic conversation?
It's Alzheimer's.
Yeah, exactly. Didn't we just have this amazing conversation about the one web ring system, and you said it was the coolest thing ever and how much you loved it and that you would be happy to write articles and talk to my students and chop it up and send it out to social media like Aaron wanted, and it's like, no, I remember nothing.
I'm offended by that, David.
But you know what I mean? It's like it's just so bad. Well,
Yeah.
that's not what's happening with the stuff that we're working with now. will continue to remember what it is that you're doing. And that's what makes it so useful, is I'm really enjoying where that's going. And it also answers a conundrum. Here's an interesting thing, you guys. Big tech, Facebook, Apple, ChatGPT, OpenAI, Microsoft, I don't think they're going to be able to pull this off very soon. Okay, maybe by 2027. Here's the reason why. Think about what we talked about today. Memory, vector databases, all these different things.
Yep.
The expensive part about all this, after the model is trained, after they spent the $5 billion training it, so that DeepSeek can come around for 500 million and trade it, or for 5 million and trade it rather, forget 500. They claim it's 5 million, I don't know. But let's put it this way. Even if they're lying, it was way cheaper than it took OpenAI to train the model. But then the vector, and then it doesn't remember anything, right? Well, think about this. If you design the app from the ground up to do that, which Felix is doing, and we're going to continue to help them, then it's way easier because you began with the actual user in mind. So a me-centric database function is very different design from the beginning than, oh, I want to train a model so I can rule the world and create Terminator. It's a very different objective, and it works very differently. Okay, so we're going to continue to work on that, and I want to support him because, you know, he left big tech. He was pulling a lot of weight in the, I think it was Facebook, and so we'll see a lot of projects come out. But think about this: can you imagine Google's freemium model having to deal with billions of dollars worth of vector memory for every user for their entire life?
I think I just had a thought. I think I just had a thought, Russell. When I die, as long as I build a me bot it's really got all of me, my wife doesn't need me anymore. She just needs my AI. And everything I was doing, everything I was
and I wish that were a joke.
Well, no, it's not. Yeah, I mean, I just realized
so
as long as you update your AI and have it be you just held the phone and said, it knows everything about me.
Correct. In fact, Autobiography AI has already started to utilize that. I've got that on my phone, been testing it.
Gotcha.
It's also a lifelong memory. It's inevitable, you guys. Now, what's so interesting is that the way that big tech bros set up their companies, you know, rather than putting all that money into the metaverse, Marky Mark could have like decided, hey, I'm gonna actually build something useful with a, you know, but it would have taken as many billions of dollars as the metaverse cost to give every user a lifelong memory function. Even Google has to charge $20 a month for Gemini and these rest now, and even that, it's the memory, guys. That's the main takeaway I want you guys to understand. It's the memory. It's the memory. And if you solve that problem, like I know Felix is doing, it's still a form of retrieval augmented search that he's doing, but his next model, and I will be able to release that to you guys first before everyone else. It's called lifelong memory. He's just now integrating it. I'm not even using that yet. It's fast, it's efficient, it remembers everything that you input, and you can even automate a lot of inputs. Like for example, you can just email yourself that data and just updates. Wow. Or you can put a feed, like currently you can pull a feed in from a variety of different sources. You could put your Twitter thing running through it. Okay, and it's just gonna remember the things that you care about. Okay, and then the distinction here is context is everything, guys. Wow. Like context is king. Content is not king anymore. Context is king. Wow. Okay, so when you create a new article, let's try that right now. So if you and I are talking about this really important conversation I had with you, right? And I want to remember that. There's a variety of, this is called collect, right? In the code method, collect, organize, distill, and express. So we've had this great conversation, right? I had an excellent conversation with my Q-Star members about Wayfound and AI orchestrators. I want to remember it for later. Please add it to any conversations and connect those neural nodes to anything related to AI tools and mass AI orchestrators. Boom. Okay, it just goes in. Now there's a lot of clipping softwares out there, right? But this contextually remembers it in the relationship to the me algorithm. Okay, very different. And so when it actually posts it, it's actually going to be connected to a variety of different things. And for those people who are still stuck in folders, all of the folders are there under topics, or if you're using hashtags, you can use them there. Okay. And then it'll start creating personal insights. Okay. So these are a lot of things that are coming. Big tech will try to catch up with this very quickly, right? But the problem is that the reason I don't see that being a major thing. Oops, that's the wrong account. That was my test account. Let me show you this one real quick. The reason that big tech won't be able to catch up very easily with that is just because of the database problem. That's the main thing. Here, I'll show you how it shows it to you guys. I want you to look at this. Started, got to get into the right account. I had a test account to provide some different data. All right. There we go. Okay. So what's happening over time is instead of a knowledge graph being created for Google, this is how Google built their knowledge graph for entities and all the other things, right? So over time, as you begin to save and collect, it begins to categorize, not only in categories if you want to create them, but it'll also start to build a knowledge graph about your life. Okay, and so the next version that's being rolled out is it'll be a knowledge graph across your whole life with gigantic memory, end-to-end encryption, completely outside of the hands of big tech if you want it to be, although you can import things in from big tech. Okay, ongoing conversation. So in this case, imagine I've lost something or I want to find something. There's a couple ways I can go about it. I can go to the folders, okay, and I can look at something that I'm building with Daryl in my business thing, right? Can have a continual conversation about something that I'm building for you guys. Or you don't have to bring business into it. You can just use your GPTs for that. But I have a continual conversation. So a lot of the times I'll use this when I'm just out and about, or I have a note, or I have an interesting idea, or I find something. So during the collection and the organization phase. Now, I've started using this more and more for distillation, which is how to create an article. In other words, when I'm creating a Eureka Game Score article for SEO, I'm still going to use ChatGPT and the rest, but I might pull different insights that I've pulled together and things that I've collected and thoughts I've had, say, walking along a beach or in an airplane or at the airport. What ends up happening is I just simply have a conversation about it. And then by the time I'm ready to take it into deeper scenarios, perhaps I want to start writing the book, then I go into other applications and put all those ideas. But for the collection and organization phase of the code method, it's ideal. And it remembers things across your life. It doesn't have a problem breaking down the silos and the folders, but still allows you to create folders as you want them. Make sense? And so preparing for the end of folders, okay, here's one of the systems that it can use, which is tag-based system. If you want to add a new tag, because maybe your second brain utilizes that, you can use that, okay? And if you want to publish it, you want to share the note to the public, not a problem. Just click here, and there you are. Whoops. You can email it to somebody, or you can just simply. So these are the kinds of things that we're going to be seeing, y'all. Whoops, I got a dot at the end of my URL. That won't work. These are the kinds of things that you end up seeing. Okay, I've shared a significant number of these links already. It's just very easy because that's where we find it. So that'll continue to be a secret project. But just know that if you take MeBot, this is what your business agents should be doing. Your business agents should be remembering everything in context, and you should be able to do multiple agents, not just MeBot, but customer support bot, agent, your accounting bot, your marketing department, and all their minions. All of them need to do this. So that's what we're basically working on. All right, guys. Thank you so much. I think we'll just end that for the day. I appreciate all of you, and we're just going to have a blast. We're in this together, and I do believe that we're moving into a golden era where what you can imagine can be done. And I want to work with all of you to be able to pull that off. So I have secret projects, like passion projects like the one I just showed you, and they really excite me. And we'll continue to be moving into, as the agency, the era of orchestrated agents. Everybody's saying this is the age of agents. No, it's the age of orchestrated agents that fit within your brand voice. That's what we got to teach each other. So as you go, yeah, as you go through your week and you start doing this, and Adrian, when you start looking at, you know, when you start doing anything LLM, start thinking under these terms. And let's try to collect ideas and ways to accelerate the orchestrated agent industry. And feel free to take a look at Tatiana's work, and hopefully we'll have her on a webinar at some point. All right, y'all?
Have a blessed weekend, everybody.
Thank you so much, my
Yeah,
friends.
you too.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.